Bearing one another's burdens. Hello, and welcome to the Manna-to-live-by. One day at a time. 5-minute devotionals. Today is November 30th. Today's reading is from Galatians, chapter 6, verses 2 and 5. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For each one shall bear his own load. A casual reading of these two verses might easily convince a person that they present a glaring contradiction. The first says we should bear one another's burdens, the second, that we must bear our own burden. The word translated, burdens, in verse 2 means anything that weighs a person down spiritually, physically, and emotionally. In its immediate context, it refers to the heavy weight of guilt and despondency that has come into the life of a man who has been overtaken in a fault. Verse 1. We help such a brother when we throw a loving arm around him and win him back to a life of fellowship with God and with God as people. But burdens also include the sorrows, troubles, trials, and frustrations of life, which come to us all. We bear one another's burdens when we comfort, encourage, share our material things, and give constructive advice. It means to involve ourselves in the problems of others, even at a great personal cost. When we do this, we fulfill the law of Christ, which is to love one another. We demonstrate our love in a practical way, by spending and being spent for others. A different word is used for burden in verse 5. Here, it means anything that has to be carried, without any hint as to whether the load is heavy or light. What Paul is saying here is that everyone will have to bear his own load of responsibility at the judgment seat of Christ. It will not be a question then, as to how we compare with others. We will be judged on the basis of our own record, and the rewards will be passed out, accordingly. The connection between the two verses seems to be this. A person who restores one who is overtaken in a fault might fall into the trap of feeling himself superior. In bearing the burdens of the fallen brother, he might somehow think of himself as being on a higher level of spirituality. He sees himself as comparing favorably with the sinning saint. Paul reminds him that when he stands before the Lord, he will have to give account for himself, for his own work, and for his own character, and not for the other person. He will have to bear his own load of accountability. So, the two verses do not fight against one another. Rather, they live in the closest harmony. Bearing one another's burdens.
Today's Manna, originally written by William MacDonald. Adapted and developed as Manna-to-live-by, 5-minute devotionals for YouTube, by John Benjamin.